Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to take a look at the first ever, and I mean the first ever, Pokemon EX Battle Decks. Now, we know these are basically redone versions of the old V Battle Decks, but they are the first EX ones. That is awesome. We've got Decklists, and let's have a roll. Now, obviously, there are two. They are Lucario and Ampharos, and they are coming around because, of course, over in Japan, Lucario and Ampharos were featured in the Japanese starter decks. So it only makes sense here that we would essentially take them and put them in our own decks. Sometimes these starter deck cards make it into sets. More often than not, they don't. One thing that is important to note, when we look at these, a lot of the time, we've got the list, but it doesn't say which particular Pokemon it is. It just tells us which Pokemon is in there, not which set it's from. But remember, Scarlet and Violet, we switched to silver borders, so I feel pretty confident that this deck is going to switch to completely silver border cards rather than having a mixture of silver and yellow, which is why I'm pretty confident they'll all be from Scarlet and Violet. That is not confirmed, but I feel pretty confident, quite frankly. I feel pretty confident. Now, what is quite awesome here, first of all, we've got Ampharos, alright? And we know that Ampharos is a brand new card, and it is exclusive to this deck. Ampharos EX, that's the only place you can find it. Single energy 60 is a bit underwhelming for a stage 2. Free energy 140, but if you discard 2 energy from this Pokemon, you deal 240 instead. Not terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but do bear in mind it is a stage 2, so, sorry about that. And of course, because we've got an Ampharos, we need a Mareep and a Fluffy, and this was of course kind of interesting because in the Scarlet and Violet base set, we had a Mareep and a Fluffy. We didn't have an Ampharos because of course we knew that was being saved for the EX starter deck. So now we've got the whole evolution line. The Mareep and Fluffy are not exclusive, they were in Scarlet and Violet, but now they're here as well, and that's rather lovely. There's also a free Kilowatt Troll line, and again, I can't imagine that it's going to be anything other than the Kilowatt Troll from Scarlet and Violet. We don't know what Wattrel it is, however, because of course there were 2 in Scarlet and Violet, and there is absolutely no way of telling which one it is. One of them's got 50 HP and a single energy draw a card. The other one's got 60 HP and single energy 20. For what it's worth, I'd take the extra HP and the chip damage. That's just me personally. But we don't know which Wattrel it is. That is very important. We've then got ourselves a 3-2-1 line of Staraptor. 3 Starly, 2 Staravia, 1 Staraptor. And again, I feel very, very confident that this is the one from Scarlet and Violet. Can I say for absolute certain? No, I can't. There was, after all, a Staraptor in Brilliant Stars, but like I've said, that one's got a yellow border. I would be absolutely stunned if they mixed the yellow and silver borders. That's not going to look good for a pre-made product, so expect it to be Scarlet and Violet only cards in here. Not moving forward they'll mix sets like they've always done, but certainly for this first one, I do think that is a little bit sensible. The Staraptor here, 2 energy, 60 damage, and you prevent damage from basic Pokemon next turn. 3 energy, 180, and discard an energy from this Pokemon. It's fine, but it's a stage 2, it's slightly underwhelming. I never actually told you what Kilowatt Troll did, however, so let me fix that now. 2 energy, 50 to one of your opponent's Pokemon is quite cool. 3 energy, 140, discard an energy. It seems like too much on a stage 1, if I'm honest with you. But I felt mean because we didn't actually talk about it before. Let me fix that now. Now, we do have ourselves a Miraidon in this deck, and it has to be the Miraidon from Scarlet and Violet. That is the only one there. 2 energy, 30 damage. 3 energy, 90, and 30 to one of your opponent's bench. It's fine for a basic. In a theme deck format, it's going to be pretty good. In like your standard tournament format, no, that's not going to be good at all. But in theme deck format, when things are a bit slower, you got time to attach more energy, that's kind of cool. We've then got ourselves 2 Rotom. Now here again, there is a choice, and I can't tell you which one it's going to be. Wish I could. We've got the one with Junk Hunt, that puts an item from your discard pile into your hand, and then single energy 20, flip a coin if heads paralysis. That is the better one. or we got the one that's 60 HP and 20 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. The 80 HP Rotom is much better here, and I do mean much better. So everybody cross your fingers, it's that one. We really don't know which one it's going to be, but yeah, sorry about that. It's going to be one of them. And then we've got ourselves a Flamingo. Flamingo carried me through my initial run through of Pokemon Violet. So I've got a lot of affinity, I've got a lot of love for Flamingo. What about this first card? Well, the artwork's kind of lovely. And what we've got here is single energy 30, free energy 110, 20 to itself. I'm going to be honest with you, it's not particularly amazing. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that obviously we've got a fighting deck against a lightning deck here. So weakness-wise, it's kind of awkward. But the people who have designed this deck, they have gone and put the Raptor line in there. And we've got the Flamingo line in there. And we've got the Kilowatt Troll line in there. All of which, instead of being weak to lightning, are actually resistant. So sure, your Ampharos might be weak. And your Miraidon might be weak, but actually they've designed the deck really nicely, giving you a bunch of flying-type Pokemon in the video games, which have come through in the TCG with fighting resistance. I appreciate this very much, so it's not hideously one-sided. Now, in terms of trainer cards, both decks are identical, so I'm going to go nominally through them for the Ampharos deck, but please bear in mind that they are identical regardless of which deck you're going for. So there are 4 copies of Nimona. This is a fairly underwhelming supporter card that just lets you draw 3. It's your classic kind of friend in the game, but it's not particularly good. I don't think that's unfair. We've then got 4 copies of Youngster. That is your classic Shuffle Draw 5, what used to be called Shauna. This is actually a decent card that might see some competitive play. Between 4 Nimona and 4 Youngster, you should be able to get some decent draw going on here. We've then got 1 copy of Jack, or Jacques, however you want to pronounce it, which is a decent card. Search your deck for 2 evolution Pokemon, put them into your hand. It's going to be good for getting rolling as you go through the game. We got a couple copies of Energy Retrieval to get your basic energy from your discard pile into your hand, which is very useful. We've got a couple copies of Nest Ball to get your basic Pokemon. For what it's worth, the vast majority of decks moving forward are going to play Nest Ball, most of them 4 of, so it's really cool to have a couple of them in here. That's rather lovely. We got a couple copies of Potion to do a little bit of healing, not much, but a little bit is better than none. Couple copies of Switch to move your active Pokemon, swap it with one of your bench. That is a staple that's going to see play in like every deck because it always does. One of those cards that's basically been here since the beginning of the game and frankly is never going anywhere. We're never getting rid of Switch. 2 copies of Ultra Ball to search out any Pokemon, basic or otherwise. Again, that's a staple you'll see in like every deck. And then just 1 single copy of Pokegear 3.0. That is going to make it easier to find your supporter cards, and that's a very good thing. Moving over to the Lucario deck, we obviously have a copy of Lucario EX. Again, just the one. 2 energy 60, 3 energy 160 plus 50 to one of your opponent's bench. Decent attack if you can get the energy acceleration. Probably not going to be winning big tournaments anytime soon. Now, we also do have 3 copies of Riolu here. And again, I'm afraid we don't know which one it is. There are 2 Riolu. So it's either going to be the one with 70 HP that does 10 for 1 energy, 50 for 2. Or the one with 70 HP that does 10 for 1, 20 for 2. I'll be honest with you, you're almost never going to use Reckless Charge. So pick your favourite artwork. It doesn't really matter. And just as a fun little side note, the reason there's 2 Riolu... There's, of the new Gen 9 Pokemon, we got multiple basics. We got 2 rather than 1. The reason there's 2 Riolu, even though it's not a Gen 9, there was actually a Riolu in Scarlet and Violet, so we didn't have an incomplete evolution line like we had for Ampharos. We've then got a 2-2 Oink Alone line. Now, actually, this one's interesting because there were 3 Lechonk in Scarlet and Violet base. There were 3 of them, ladies and gentlemen. I could argue that might be too many Lechonk. Nah, only joking. We all love Lechonk. We've got the 60 HP that can make your opponent switch or do 20 for 2 energy, the 60 HP that can draw a card or do 30 for 3 energy, or the 70 HP that does 3 energy, 70, flip a coin if tails nothing. None of the attacks are great. I think the 70 HP one, the difference between 60 and 70 is big. We hope it's a 70 HP. As for Oink Alone here, 2 energy 50, 3 energy 130, flip a coin, if tails you can't attack next turn. It's not particularly inspiring, I think it's fair to say. We've then got a 3-2-1 line of Annihilate here, which is pretty gosh darn cool. And although Annihilate is new, it's just a new evolution of an existing Pokemon, so there's no choices here. There's one Mankey, one Primeape, one Annihilate. Annihilate I actually really like. Single energy 70 for each prize card your opponent has taken. 2 energy 170. Really good card. It is a stage 2, but in theme deck formats you're going to be able to get it out, so that's kind of nice. We've then got a 2-1 metacham line. Again, no choice here, so we know exactly which meta type it is. There was only one in the set. And metacham's got single energy 30. You can choose one of your opponent's attacks and stop them using it next turn. Or single energy 90, flip a coin, if tails it does nothing. Decent card generally, great card if you're playing specifically with theme decks. We then have one copy of Koraidon. I mean, there's one Miraidon in the other deck. Be rude if we didn't have a Koraidon here now, wouldn't it? And this is the one where 3 energy 70 or 4 energy 190 discard free. Very expensive, but cool when you get it rolling. We've got 3 copies of Squawkerbilly here, and this has to be the one with the lovely Oswaldo Cato artwork. I am a very big fan of this particular artwork. I mean, come on, I love me some Cato. And what we've got here is single energy, search for 2 basic Pokemon, pop them on your bench, or 2 energy, 60 damage, flip a coin for immunity next turn. Sneakily, having 3 of these with Call for Family is actually really, really huge, and yeah, it's kind of better than what we've got in the other deck. As a side note, this is why I'm pretty sure it's a good Rotom, because essentially this is a decent, get your Pokemon out attack, and the other one's got a decent get your item cards back. The Rotom does. And then we've got 1 copy of Cyclizar to finish off here. And actually, right, there's 2 of these. One of them I don't particularly like. That is the one whereby 2 energy, 70 damage, 10 to itself. But in a limited format like theme decks or pre-releases, I adore the Cyclizar that's single energy, draw 2 cards, 3 energy, 100, and it's got free retreat. This carried me through one of my pre-releases. It was awesome. If it is that Cyclizar, combined with that Squawkerbilly, I actually like the Lucario deck quite a bit more. Plus your big Pokemon to stage 1, not a stage 2. So if you're asking me which one of these I think is better, I do think it's fair to say the Lucario. Plus you're hitting weakness against their good Pokemon, and that's a very cool thing. No, these are not like the League Battle decks that are tournament level, etc. What they are very cool decks with exclusive Pokemon EXs that cannot be found elsewhere, and a bunch of other cool cards. No, they're not absolutely stunning like the League Battle decks. I am not pretending that they are. But yes, they absolutely are really, really, really decent and way better than we were used to with the V Battle decks, and that makes me very happy indeed. That's what I think, but I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join the Discord, all kinds of fun things, and get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Austin Montville, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.